We've all been there. It's day one. You've made the choice. You've quit the job, ended the relationship, or finally said enough is enough to your old habits. There's a rush of adrenaline, and then you wake up the next morning. Suddenly, you're in the messy middle. You can see your day two, that ideal state of peace, health, and purpose, waiting for you on the horizon. But how do you actually get there without losing your way in the fog? I'm Patricia Rain, and this is The Space Between. This is the podcast for women who are done with wishing and ready for intentional planning. Today, we're talking about why the gap is your greatest asset and how we're going to bridge it to get to your day two. Let's dive in. Welcome back to The Space Between. I'm Pat, and I'm so glad you're here for episode 2. With us today is Katie Ballance. She's a high-capacity marketing and communication powerhouse with over a decade of expertise navigating complex structures of finance, healthcare, and government. Currently, as the Senior Director of Marketing and Community Engagement at Junior Achievement of Central Maryland, Katie is the strategist behind the scenes, preparing 30,000 young people to architect their own futures in a global economy. Welcome, Katie. I am so excited to have you on The Space Between.
As am I. Thank you for having me.
Can you describe the accident that triggered your wake-up call that you knew something had to change during that first experience when you were landing at JA?
Yeah, so I just had a weird accident that really kind of settled things up for me. I'll kind of background a little bit that I was navigating my first marketing experience, my real big girl job, being in marketing, a 1 to 2 person marketing department, kind of handling all the things at a really small organization, and was starting to have those kind of conversations where you're like, is this for me? Do I stay this route? What's next? And as I was literally about to transition into a new role with the same organization, I had an accident over the summer, something very weird and rare, but as a former sports athlete, we have things that happen to us, sprained ankles, weird stuff that then triggers as an adult. And then I had something that just a normal experience that just turned into a knee injury where I had 3 out of my 4 knee ligaments torn. So very scary. Over 4th of July holiday weekend, I think it was like right after, and I was right when I was about to transition into this new role.
Oh my goodness.
And honestly, this new role was kind of going to open some doors and maybe kind of put me on a new trajectory of like what was next. So it's almost like, I don't want to say the accident was fate, or because that's kind of a interesting way to put it, but it really did open my eyes to what was next for me. And the world kind of decided that for me a little bit, because you can imagine after going after an accident or an injury like that, that then your next year is rehab, physical therapy, surgery,
right,
more rehab, so.
Oh, absolutely. As women, we tend to want to keep the balls all up in the air and keep everything rolling until our body kind of gives us that signal.
Exactly.
In a study that was done by the Body Keeps the Score, Brain, Mind, and Body in the Healing of Trauma, many clinical psychologists specializing in executive burnout note that for women, the realization that they need a change, guess how many months after their first physical symptoms appear that they realize they need a change? Want to take a guess?
I'll guess 5 months, 4 months.
6 to 18 months
Wow.
After. And according to a 2023 Deloitte Women at Work Global report, roughly 75% of women reported high levels of burnout. Most significantly, they didn't consider a career change until they experienced a physical manifestation of stress, chronic exhaustion, migraines, or a serious autoimmune flare-up. It is an ongoing challenge to recognize that if you don't monitor yourself for your health, your body's going to do it for you. So in the middle of this big transition that you were experiencing, it's easy to lose momentum. And you said it yourself, you've got that year of rehab and, other things going on in your life that you have to pay attention to, including keeping your career
Hmm.
on track. What was the biggest internal or external roadblock you encountered, and how did you navigate it?
It was really myself, honestly. You're under a lot of stress. You're thinking about the career that you were in, the career you're going towards. I mean, it's really a mental load, right? So your body's under a lot of stress and you're trying to kind of navigate that. And also, like, you're on medication, you're not thinking clearly, just a lot of things are coming at you. So, honestly, the most important thing was really being able to walk. That was priority number one, having a great support system and just making sure that the next step was really about me. What do I want? What am I looking for? Not really about what somebody else wants or what a career wants out of you, right? So a job wants out of you. So I was really kind of like taking that space and time to heal. And that was really important.
And what led you to JA?
So when it was finally time to get back into the workforce and my job was no longer there for me, again, due to being a small organization, it really was that kind of like that conversation you have with yourself that's like, all right, what do I want? And what am I going to do next? And I knew that having been in financial services, that financial education was so important to me. Again, the stars align and this role opened up. It was to be the first marketing person on payroll, really, for junior achievement, working with a great team, doing some of the work that I was already doing, but, trying to make it work within another structure. And it was just like the clouds opened up and it really made a lot of sense, directly impacting students, trying to get youth to really expand their mind about not only just financial education, but what their future holds too. And doing that at such a young age is really impactful. So if everything else made sense and it was in a nonprofit space with a really great mission, it was a yes, 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 and yes, yes, yes more for me. And Pat, that more than anybody, just seeing those kids light up in a volunteer experience is just, you're sold. You're sold after that.
You're right. You're right. And so that was I would say, like your first day two.
It was my day two.
And then fast forward, tell me about your next day one.
COVID, like for many people, was quite an awakening. We've never experienced anything like that before, and really putting under, again, more mental stress, financial stress, didn't know what was really kind of next. And unfortunately, that impacted our young people. So during that, we're not seeing students, unfortunately, in the same way, trying to pivot and be adaptable, trying to really still give students the career, the education that they need day to day while dealing with hardships in their lives. Really put a strain on what we were doing at junior achievement and really trying to decide what our day two was too. We were undergoing moving our facility, growing those capabilities, and it was a really scary time where everybody was trying to make choices that were really good for them and their families. And so unfortunately, it was very bittersweet to think about leaving, but it was really the best thing for me and my family. So I did go into a for-profit and learned a lot, but also dealt with a lot of burnout. I think burnout coming out of COVID, personally, and then thrusted into a healthcare, scenario where people were, again, dealing with COVID and the struggles in the career profession, the industry really being turned on side of its head. And that's dangerous, right? A dangerous place when you're coming off of some burnout maybe, and then entering even more burnout. It doesn't just go away.
Well, I think that's important.
Yeah.
Absolutely. What you're emphasizing right now is on top of the consistent burnout that women may feel, being pulled in many different directions, and on top of how they show up in the workforce, to throw coming back from COVID into it from that different kind of burnout, I would say, for everyone involved. Not knowing what the new world would look like when you got in. A junior achievement, for all of my listeners who don't know, I do invite you to go look them up online. They are worldwide. And here in Central Maryland, we have an amazing biz town and finance center where these children just come in from their public schools and their private schools to experience a day of financial responsibility, learning it in different modalities. It's truly fabulous. Not knowing what that would look like after COVID is the same thing that most employers went through. Now what?
Absolutely.
Right?
Yes.
And so that must have been an incredible hill to climb, and trying to get all the resources back in and hired as well, I would say, correct?
Yeah, I mean, like when you don't see students for a significant period of time, the education system takes time to rebound. And so the schools were just trying to get their students back into the classrooms, let alone trying to take them out of the classroom to experience, an experiential learning center. So there was really probably a good 2 years of nonprofits, not just Junior Achievement, but other nonprofits who serve students daily were not able to see students in the same capacity. So, it did make me question things, but it also gave me an opportunity to grow, expand what I know and find a new home for a little bit. And I did, and then bring that back again and come back to Junior Achievement. And that's what I did too. But 2 years, that's a long time. And honestly, we see that in data that just students during COVID lost so much learning during that time. And it really caught up with them. Our scores are behind and students are still playing catch up. Our young adults who were in school during that time are navigating something that they just unfortunately lost during that period of time.
I appreciate you sharing all of that. I'm sure, I'm sure we have a lot of listeners, whether they're educators or parents themselves or grandparents with their children. They're probably shaking their heads saying, yeah, that was unreal, right? Personally, though, how did you show up differently this time around at JA? Did you feel like emotionally and physically you created a new set of rules for yourself? Were there new boundaries? Could you tell us a little bit about that?
So I will say historically, I'm not great with boundaries. Like I'm all in, get it done, like do it as best as you can, do it better than you did it the day before. And so really just again, coming off a burnout, if you've been there, like it just takes its toll. So really showing up in a different way and trying to be a stronger leader, trying to empower other team members more, and creating my own boundaries, even if it's maybe not the same boundaries for other people, but for me. So we do a lot of events, a lot of networking events, and just saying like, I can only do so much, right? So limiting what that looks like every week or on the scorecard for the month, trying to empower other employees to make decisions and feel empowered and lead by example, really. I may have not had that fully when I walked into Junior Achievement day one, but I learned that from working with great leaders at Junior Achievement and then also in my post-career afterwards. So I wanted to come in and show up as best as I could for new, young, hungry leaders or experienced leaders who just needed some more support, right? Like you want to be there for everybody else. And so doing that in a way that really keeps everybody motivated, inspired, but also authentically you, right?
Absolutely. And I got to say, Katie, you always show up authentically you, and
Thank you.
I appreciate that very much. Could you give us, when in thinking about examples that you've may experienced, that even after you knew you had to get better at those boundaries, maybe you weren't 100% at setting them, but you knew you had to come back to Junior Achievement with a different mindset. Is there an example where maybe you had a little bit of a step back and had to wake up and reset?
I mean, I constantly, I think, do that just because, you want to say yes to everything, but the reality is you just can't. There's more power in no. And I think as women, we just want to say yes. We want to nurture and we want to just say, we just want to help out and be, empower others. And sometimes that takes a lot of yourself. I think about that in mentoring. You want to pour in, but if you don't have anything to pour into, you can't. And again, that's where your body shows up. That's the way you mentally show up to meetings. And we've all experienced that where you're like sitting somewhere and you're like, you're running through the list. You got the grocery list, the laundry list, the like chores, the like what you're going to do after this meeting. And you didn't hear anything that happened in that meeting. Um, and so that accountability that you need to kind of like do with yourself, or
Yep.
like Pat, like you're a great accountability, person to be my point person to say like, did we do that? Did we check that box? Or do we need, whoever that is for you, everybody needs that. And it's really powerful.
Yeah.
So just showing up and doing the work is sometimes, you want to keep your head down, but like, let's be honest, you've got 100 tabs open, your phone's going off. People are walking, if you're in the office, people are walking by.
Are you looking at my computer right now?
You're
That's
looking
what
at
you're
mine,
doing,
right? Exactly. If you're at home, you might have like animals and the door, like a doorbell, like your camera ring. It's crazy. It's crazy. I don't know how we're all like managing all these things. And so again, just like, how do we put our head down and focus and like really focus on what we're doing to be intentional with the time that we give it.
Katie, let's talk about what you used. What did you use to help yourself get through the day or get through the minutes if you had to keep yourself moving forward during those really tough times?
So the best advice that I got that I'll share with everyone else is just like blocking time. I'm not a person to do that. I love the thought of like setting up a few minutes before every meeting or before after a meeting to either regroup, debrief, and just kind of get your itinerary together, get your stuff together. So that's really helpful when you're bouncing around from your different initiatives or projects, or maybe you have volunteer work and, my volunteer role is all on my time. So carving out hours in the evening to be able to do that and say like, these are the top 3 things I want to achieve. Just being realistic, a SMART goal, because we can really get sidetracked and get off in doing something that will take us down a whole different path. So I have to remind myself of those things, but those do help me kind of stay on track, keep the goal front and center, and move forward with what that is.
That is so, so important. The last person we put on our calendar is ourselves.
Absolutely.
And I think something that I like to talk to clients about is the capacity check. So it's not good morning, let me look at my calendar. Sit down and ask yourself before you even start into that first automated task that you do in the morning. And it's not asking just if I'm happy, it's I'm checking the structural integrity of my day, because I can start out okay, but fall pretty quickly. Or I can start out not feeling well. And if I take the time to assess myself physically, mentally, my calendar, and what have I put upon myself that's negotiable that I can change, and what things aren't non-negotiable for the day, and what you have to get done. So sometimes the load is heavy and the reserve is empty. But the world doesn't stop. The deadline is still today. Your family member needs you and you have to show up, right?
Yeah.
So in that moment, the capacity check isn't about changing your schedule. It's about changing your expectations of yourself. If you're running at 20% capacity, but the day requires 100, and you say, and there's nothing I can do, I have to do it all. Okay, so what does a B- day look like for you? Edit the non-essentials. And that doesn't mean editing yourself. You are not a non-essential. And that's extremely important to remember. If that big meeting's a non-negotiable, you have cereal for dinner. Forget cooking that large dinner. The laundry stays in the dryer that day. The extra emails, don't use them as a scapegoat to procrastinate. The goal isn't to live a perfectly balanced life. That word perfect does us so much more harm than good. It's to stop being surprised. When you're pushing through and it starts to hurt, when you acknowledge your low capacity, you stop blaming yourself for feeling exhausted and plan for the recharge. So, Katie, let me ask you something, because a little bit back we've talked you talked about the accountability partner. Did you have an actual accountability partner or many accountability partners?
Yes, more the better for me. And I think in every role that I've had, I've definitely always had such great relationships with my coworkers and been very honest and authentic to say like, this isn't my strong suit. So like really keep me accountable. It's never too much, right? Push. And so I've been fortunate to have other people that are really honest and said like, you said you were going to do that and you didn't do that. And you're like, you're right. I didn't get to that. So, or I didn't walk today. Like I need to get outside, or you
Yeah.
didn't take that, so they really do hold you accountable for that. So I would say whoever that is, whoever you trust, whoever you know will have your best interest, have them be your accountability partner. It works in diets, work life, personal, like, your partner, whoever that is. And I think it's okay to have more than one, and you have more facets of yourself. So probably one for each world that you're in too.
So how do you think having a transition architect may have been helpful to you?
Yeah, I think it is similar to that, right? Like it's really going to keep you on track for what your goals are. And I can't imagine the success rate you'll have with having a transition architect. I mean, that wouldn't that be the perfect world? Somebody who's really in lockstep with your goals and making sure that you do what you said you wanted to do. You don't
Yeah.
go astray, right? Like anything can pull you away, but this person's really, really showing up for you.
So, Katie, can you share a specific example where you would have benefited from a day two service?
Yeah, I think it was probably right after COVID. I was in a junior achievement, and I was really struggling with the work I was doing, and had a difficult project I was working on, and it was just tearing me apart, honestly. And a day two transition architect would have really helped me focus in on what is important, and really would have set up why I was feeling so stressed out, so burned out, and why what I was doing wasn't really where I wanted to go. It would have really helped me navigate that probably a lot sooner, instead of working through the drudge, right? Going through it and really in the trenches for another year and a half, and really trying to find that path.
It makes sense. Makes sense. I had those moments myself where you really are just looking to survive each day. And instead of thinking about how I can change my behaviors to move forward, I considered it a win just to get to the end of the day and say, okay, so now what am I going to do tomorrow? Is that similar to what you felt for that year?
Yeah, you just can't even, sometimes you can't even verbalize that it's happening. It's just you're going through it. And I've talked to a lot of people, a lot of women especially, who were really in that place anywhere from 2020 to 2023, who were really just getting through. And again, you're just, all this stuff's coming at you, and you just really needed somebody to really say like, stop sign, like where are we today? Check in, and where do we need to be?
Yeah.
And it's just a tough spot to be in. And we experienced it throughout, I think, all of our lives in different times. And that was one for me.
Thank you for sharing that. I really appreciate your transparency and being so genuinely candid. So, Katie, looking back at the version of yourself standing on day one, what is the one thing you wish you could tell her about the journey she was about to take?
That it wasn't going to be linear. It was going to go up and down and all around, but it leads you to where you're supposed to be. So I honestly believe that. And just take chances. I mean, I've been a big proponent of, it may seem scary or uncomfortable, but lean in and take chances.
I love that. I love that. I think with every generation, women build more and more courage. And I admire that so much. So I agree with you. Listen to your body, take your capacity level check in the mornings, give that as a gift to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And as you did, it's okay to try something new in your career, right? It's okay to learn that maybe you were in the right place all along, but just had to show up differently.
Absolutely.
Katie, thank you so much for joining us today. Your experiences, what you've shared with us, has helped the Day 2 audience build more connections across the podcast sphere to others that may be needing help to get to their next steps. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It's an honor to be on here, and I'm so excited for what you're building with the Day 2 community.
Subscribe or click the follow button to The Space Between on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your stories. Join our founding community. And remember, the site is cleared. You have the steel. It's time to build. I'm Pat. Welcome to day 2.